and welcome to Tabletop Terrain Talks, where we talk about tabletop gaming, terrain, and other nerdy things. And I forget to put my headphones in until after we've started, because that's what we do. I am Hayley Bell, and sitting across from me is the most handsomest man. Introduce yourself.
This was man.
No, I had to cough.
I got the black lung pop.
You don't have the black lung. I just had to cough.
I do.
No, hold on. What screen are we looking? Am I looking at?
You're
What's
looking
happening?
at the previous screen. So we are up. So I am Weston, the other
go.
half of Party of Two, your resident nerdy couple, and this is
Tabletop Terrain Talks,
where we talk about tabletop gaming, terrain, and
other nerdy things. I already said that.
Yeah.
Did you miss it?
I say it cooler.
Oh my gosh, he totally missed it, you guys. He didn't realize I already said it. Anyway, welcome to tonight's show. We
are so happy to see you all.
So happy. Like, legitimately, we're so happy to see you guys. Like, Mike, just so you guys all know, my monitor is over there.
Yeah.
So I'm not just like looking at a wall. When I turn my head like this, I'm looking at all of your adorable little avatars.
She's looking at the wall. It's a very nice wall.
I am not Kingpin, and I don't just stare at white walls.
Oh, which I love that show so much.
If you know what we're referencing, like, put a thumbs up in the chat.
Yeah, if you know, what was it? Rabbits in a Snowstorm, I believe.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah, that's what it was called.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. Anyway, so I don't think, honestly, we have a lot of things that are...
Lost Tribes Gaming, best version of Kingpin.
Yes.
Amen. Yes,
the best version of Kingpin I have ever seen. It was like sympathy for the devil. Like, you legitimately felt for I just lost the name of his character. Fisher.
Fisk.
Wilson Fisk.
Wilson Fisk.
Anyway, we have some really cool things that are coming up. We've done, we have kind of booked some really cool appearances in some different places, but because we don't have official dates for everything yet,
you'll have to tune in next week.
I can't talk about it, which freaking sucks because I really want to share.
So you have to tune in for next week to find out our engagements for the upcoming months.
If I'm allowed to talk about it yet. We'll see if I can.
So, announcements today.
Our actual play on Fridays, don't forget about that. It's at 8 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, same time as this show. We currently have guesting on the show, Abby and Dave from Tomes of the Chaos Bard.
They are so funny.
They are hilarious, like to the point where I'm crying when I'm GMing, and I'm trying so hard to be Switzerland, and I can't because they are so funny. So come watch that, which is fun. They're currently trying to get Anna, what's my character, out of a cave in the middle of a mountain that's underneath a evil layer thing.
If you watched season 1 of the campaign, she is back in Citadel Infrarak. We had a very bad roll on a banishment spell. And so she got teleported. And the GM decided to throw her in there. So Az is working desperately to try and figure out how to get her back, possibly going through the Boneyard. In D&D, what would be the equivalent of the realm of the Raven?
The Raven Queen,
yeah. In order to get to her. So it's going to be really interesting.
It's going to be fun. We're going to see what happens. We don't know. There's the 1,000-year-old wizard who kind of is like ADD. Really bad.
So it's Hayley.
So it's me as a 1,000-year-old wizard. Shut up. Okay, but I don't think we have any other announcements.
So, John, you say we're too early these days.
We start at 8 o'clock. What? How is that too early?
If it's Pacific time, then
where are you? John, where are you? Where are you in the world, my dear?
Divulge to us your home address.
Can I also get your mother's maiden name? Just kidding.
And your first dog's name. That would be the other one you have to get. So yeah, we've got that on Friday. And then we don't have anything else.
This is in the middle of bedtime for John's kids.
That's what it is. Yep.
Yeah, and when we were later, he didn't. Yeah, okay, I get it now.
I get it. So, however, I do want to give a shout out to Praetor's Rebels, who I got to be on. Rejects. Why not Rebels? Praetor's Rebels. Where did that come from?
I have no idea, but you've never gotten their name right.
Yeah, Praetor's Rejects. I played with last week. I played Cyberpunk, which I've never played the Cyberpunk Red TTRPG. It was a lot of fun.
It was
Charity
really
stream
cool.
For... I don't remember what the name of it is. Something Against Evil.
No, it was Gamers for Giving.
No, that one wasn't.
No, that was the one that we... Oh my
that was the one we
gosh,
did
you
together.
guys. We've done too many charity streams.
Synth Night!
Hey, Synth Night. How
Okay,
are you, love?
Guys, I have to ask. Last week we missed most of you.
Oh,
Like, we
Weston had a really hard time with the fact that we
You
had like
guys
2
weren't
people
here
on
last
week.
Well, it's not even just 2 people. Like, our regulars, you guys, we missed you. You gotta tell us what was going on. Because we were like, where's Cynthia? Where's John? Where's everybody? Nobody likes me. Everybody hates me. I'll go eat some worms.
He definitely did get off and pouted for maybe 15 minutes,
Yeah,
and
probably.
then he was fine.
But it was a great stream. A great game. You should go check out Cyberpunk Red. It's a fun one.
It did
guys
seem
who
like a really fun one.
It does. The same people who made Witcher. So some really interesting systems and interesting combat.
Yes, it's true. Okay, I think that is
I think that's all the announcements.
all that we wanted to chit chat about until TTRPG news.
Yeah, I think
so.
that's all that we have for announcements for tonight.
All right, so let's go into today's episode of TTRPG News.
And I will quickly change the dates because tonight's news, it is
April 4th.
4th, if it'll let me change it.
It's not. It's
There you
there. Yep.
I got
okay.
it.
All right, so we will start. So our first really big story from this last week, which kind of made Twitter go a little bit psychotic in terms of the Pathfinder world, is that Paizo announced this last week that its wildly popular adventure, the Abominable Vault.
Abomination Vault.
Abomination. What word was that? The Abomination Vaults will be released as a 5e compatible adventure in November of 2022. This mega dungeon crawl was originally released in 2021 as a 3-part Pathfinder adventure series published by Paizo. The adventure charges the players to investigate the Abomination Vaults under the Gauntlet, a strange and mysterious landlocked lighthouse. This created quite a stir in the Pathfinder community, on Reddit, on Twitter,
Everywhere. YouTube.
There was a lot of response about this announcement, mostly of people wondering why Paizo chose to branch off one of their most popular APs, adventure paths, into their main competitor. And in a couple of announcements from some of the game makers and the executives at Paizo, they say, no, we are totally fine. We didn't do this because we're losing money, which you would expect them to say no matter what was going on behind the scenes. But this has definitely raised a couple of red flags for major Pathfinder players in feeling like Paizo is kind of selling out.
I love, there was a video actually done by the Rules Lawyer on YouTube, which he did a lot of good research into this. Paizo originally started as a magazine that created content for D&D 3.5. So they actually cut their teeth on doing content for D&D. And so his and some other creators' opinion is that they're creating this as the gateway drug. I have heard, and some of my D&D fans out there are going to have to tell me, that there are a lot of the modules for D&D, you actually end up having to homebrew a lot on there. And apparently the consensus is that Paizo's adventure paths are a lot better.
They're a
lot better written,
they're really
a lot more fleshed out. This one in particular, like the whole town is completely fleshed out. You're not going to have to homebrew really anything on here.
Yeah, as the GM, it's really nice.
The idea is that if you get it into the hands of 5e people, they see how good Paizo's stuff is.
And then they start going,
and then they're like, well, I want to play more of them. Oh, they're in Pathfinder. Well, maybe I should pick up Pathfinder. So
yeah,
I think this could be a really good thing because a lot of people we've interacted with haven't tried Pathfinder just because they haven't tried Pathfinder. All they've done is Wizards of the Coast.
Or they've been like they've been like into VTM or Cyberpunk. Like they've had very specific things, but it's like Pathfinder is always in the fringes and people want to try it, but they don't have an opportunity for, which is why they're doing Pathfinder Paizo. This isn't in our rundown, but it's made me think this. They're doing a beginner's box free play where you can go and create a character and play with one of the Paizo stamped GMs, which is, little do you guys know, Weston and I are actually Paizo stamped GMs. We're a part of their creator crew.
Yep.
But you can go and just play for free. You can go sign up on their website and you can play a game for free with some really phenomenal GMs that they have lined up. So if you're interested in Pathfinder and you've never played it before,
Great time to
that's
start.
a good time to start. Okay, Weston, what's number 2?
All right, so, the way you wrote this. So, there's 90s Saturday cartoon mix with TTRPG in this awesome Kickstarter called Stage Heroism. It is from Kickstarter.
From their Kickstarter.
Okay.
Quotation.
So this is from their Kickstarter. Stage Heroism is a comedy/action tabletop role-playing game about legacies and failures. A rural-light love letter to Saturday morning cartoons of years past, as well as contemporary superhero cartoons that bend and sometimes nuke the tropes of the genre. Already fully funded, the stretch goals are currently unlocked, and with 10 days to go, it looks like they will indeed meet all of their stretch goals. Their stretchy goals?
They're stretchy. Did I write stretchy?
You wrote stretchy goals. If they are, if you're interested, check out Stage Heroism on Kickstarter. It is a very goofy superhero-based one.
It really is like Power Rangers, like the way that you think, not the Power Rangers TTRPG, but like the way the TV shows are, where it's
Rita Repulsa,
like super over the top villains and ridiculous scenarios. So
I think more like the Tick.
yes.
The Tick
Oh my gosh, I love
cartoon.
that cartoon.
Like that's the type of vein of this thing.
I love that so
Yeah, stretchy
much.
goals does sound more fun, doesn't it, Kev?
We're doing the stretchy goals.
So-
when we eventually do our Kickstarter for Valley Toss stuff, we'll call them stretchy goals.
So if you are interested, if you have a nostalgia factor for those old The Tick and other silly superhero shows from the 80s, go check out the Kickstarter, Staged Heroism.
Yeah, you'll really enjoy this one. So next, if you have a Netflix account and don't know about the Dragon Prince, you've probably been living under a rock, especially if you're someone who really enjoys anime. But for those of you who do know it and love it, you will be excited to know that there is a TTRPG that has been created by Fandom Inc., and it is titled Dragon Prince Tales of Zadia. You guys, I didn't watch it. Weston watched it. Tales of Zadia. I didn't watch it. It is set in the world of Zadia and features all of the characters that you already know and love from the TV show. You can get digital copies now. They just went on sale this last week, and physical copies will be sent out as they are able to send them. I have a feeling it is a printing shipping issue because everything's a printing shipping issue nowadays. Anyway, if you are interested in checking that out and picking that up, you can go to Tales of Zadia. That's XADIA.com.
And last but not least, so we talked about a couple weeks back about some talk of a group who was trying to get Wizards of the Coast to break off from Hasbro. Mm-hmm. And their plan was to go to the shareholder voting that was going to happen soon and try and get their people in place in order to then force a vote to separate the two. Well, we have that 2 directors were chosen, and it doesn't look like they were theirs because they have stated that Wizards will continue to stay with Hasbro. So the effort at the moment is curtailed. They're not going anywhere. However, it was interesting, some statements made by the new CEO of Hasbro that rather than trying to Hasbro more Wizards of the Coast, he plans on making Wizards of the Coast change some of their stripes, which was some of the concern. Some people felt that the way Hasbro did stuff was shackling Wizards of the Coast a little bit, but he plans on making some changes in Hasbro that should help both brands grow and become stronger.
Yeah, so we'll see how that all pans out. I imagine there are going to be some changes kind of across the board. Whenever you have really big changes in executives and even in board members, there's normally changes that come down the pipeline.
Well, and both new directors come from online gaming, including one from Electronic Arts, which I've played a lot of video games from EA, from Electronic Arts. So I think we can expect a lot of digital gaming and online gaming in both Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast in the years to come.
Yeah, probably. All right, and for our very last segment, which is brand new, it's so stinking brand new, we don't even have a letterhead or an intro for it, but it is community announcements. So with everybody and everything that's going on in the TTRPG space, we felt that it would be kind of cool for us to kind of gather together some community announcements of people who want to give a little bit more light to their personal projects, their shows, their Kickstarters, their artwork, their whatever. It's kind of like what we were doing before with the Indie Roundup, but this is where it is submitted to us. If you want something with a little bit more attention drawn to it, you just shoot us a message either on Twitch, on Twitter. I got a couple of personal messages of things in the last couple of weeks to do with this. So if you have something, let us know and we will talk about it in community announcements. So for today, we only got one, which I was kind of sad about, but it's perfect. So Disaster Hamsters 2 is currently doing a Kickstarter for their second edition of their game. It was actually fully funded in 27 hours, so now they're going on to all of their stretch goals, and it's super fun.
Do you mean their stretchy goals?
Their stretchy goals! All of their stretchy goals. So the game premise itself is that there is a scientist who mastered the ability to make hamsters and other animals fully sentient. So you as a player are playing as a hamster.
Didn't they make a movie?
No, those were guinea pigs.
Oh, I'm sorry.
However, there are sentient guinea pigs, there are sentient scorpion and rabbits, and like there's a whole bunch of different whatever. It's super fun. So you get to play as the hamster and you deal with all of the intrigue and the mysteries and stuff that are happening as you are a hamster in a castle. It's actually really cool.
You know that the bad guy has to be the animal control guy. Like that every single animals can talk. The animal control guy or the zookeeper is the bad guy.
Okay, so no. So let me read this a little bit. So deep in the Feywild, nefarious scientist Hayley, you guys, whatever names, has finally perfected the art of crafting sentient animals. Although the elf has designed many a creature, he regards his work with hamsters as the pinnacle of his achievements. Now, as a final test of his creations, Jerry plans to drop his adorable rodents into an enormous nature preserve, which he has filled with other small, intelligent creatures. In Disaster Hamsters 2, by plot hooks, your party plays as sentient hamsters or even some other little animals, adventuring through the sanctuary in this epic TTRPG book, which is compatible with 5th edition. So it's adorable. I've watched through the videos and done it's seriously so freaking cute. And I want to do a one shot with a bunch of kids.
Oh yeah.
Playing as the hamsters, get our son and a couple of his friends. That would be super fun. Anyway, so if you
do an activity days thing and bring over
all the boys, oh my gosh, that would be crazy. So if you are interested in checking them out, I just dropped the link in the chat and you can go over and help them go to their stretchy goals and all of that jazz. So there we go. And that is actually going to be it for tonight's episode of TTRPG News. But remember, if you have any community announcements, please shoot them to us and we will put some spotlights on them for next week.
And that's all for TTRPG News on today, Monday, April 4th. All right.
We are back.
So, main event time.
I have a stuffy nose. Sorry, I'm going to be sniffing tonight, you guys.
Main event tonight. So, topic of discussion. GM versus player responsibilities.
What are you responsible for?
What?
Okay, I want to start. Can I start this one?
You can start this one.
I need to wet my mouth.
Wait,
so, this is my experience with starting as a GM. When I first got started, and I don't know, like, if you guys have similar experiences, please tell me. But I had watched a lot of actual plays. I had watched Matt Mercer and Brendan Flanagan and Deborah Wolf and Wolf. Sorry, I always say Wolf. Deborah Wool. And other professional GMs that
Jason Bowman, who did the
Jason Bowman was actually the first
Knights of
professional
Everflame.
GM that I ever watched, which was really cool. Knights of Everflame. But I had this vision of what it meant to be a GM. You had to know all the rules. You had to be able to answer all of the questions that your player had.
The rules. You know every single
You knew
rule.
every single rule. You had to know the world better than anyone else ever could have imagined. You have to be able to give things like the national flower for whatever.
I'm gonna start asking you that.
Don't start asking me that. It'll make me mad. Anyway, that is what I felt like was required as a GM. So I was really, really nervous the first time I GM'd. Also, I GM'd twice, and then we streamed live.
Yep.
Like, I don't suggest doing that because I cut my teeth as a GM live on Twitch, and that was a lot of stress.
It's really funny because we kind of started in a weird way. It's
we jumped in.
Let's do it a little bit with our family. Nah, let's go live on Twitch right from the get-go.
Yeah, and we're doing it just the two of us. So my first experience as a GM was just the two of us, and I had to be in charge of literally every other character.
Which, having done now more people.
Oh my gosh, it's so much easier if there's 4 people. It's so much easier to GM when there's 4 people.
Yeah.
I can't imagine like Matt Mercer having 7. It's like he just sits back there for an hour plus and just listens to them chat with each other and make decisions. It's like, dude, this is easy. I'm going to go check my Twitter. Are you doing anything? Nope, we're still good.
Well, it also gives you a lot of time to check your notes.
Hi, Joel. Who else did you? Hi, Dragons Keep TV. I don't think have I seen you? Yes, you have been here before.
This is the first time chatting with us, though, so thank you for chatting.
No, it's not. It doesn't say first time chatter.
It does.
It does on yours?
Yeah. First time chat.
It doesn't say it on mine. Hi, Dragons Keep TV. Welcome. So yeah, that's the way that I started. So I had this vision in my head of like what I had to be as a GM, and it was very, 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 very scary. And after I've been in the community now for a little over a year, I realized that the idea that I had of what I needed to be as a GM was sorely mistaken.
What do you mean? Hey, you need to know. You need to know everything.
Well, you make me make up crap all the time, but I'm so good at making crap up that you don't realize that I didn't know it.
And here comes the thing about different GMing styles. Okay, so if you...
Hey, Uber Geek!
Hayley, can we reveal... Can we go a little behind the curtain?
How behind the curtain are we going? I don't want to give away the illusion that I'm a god.
Okay. If you don't want to give that away.
No, I'm just kidding. What are you wanting to talk about?
So last episode.
It does help a lot.
Last episode, you GM'd. It was on Friday night. Went really well. It was really funny.
It was so much fun.
We walked upstairs after recording, and what did you say to me?
I said, can I tell you something that's going to piss you off?
And I said, yeah. What's that?
And I said, I pretty much improv that entire session.
So Hayley made the whole session up just off the cuff. She's like, hey.
Including, and this is where I knew Weston knew I was having to just pull stuff out of thin air, was that he asked, so we go to a library, he pulls a book off the shelf and he starts asking me questions, specific questions about what's in the book. And so I'm thinking, okay, history of the Boneyard. Okay, so let's go. So it would have started in the first world, which in D&D would have been the Feywild. So, okay, so it would have been there. So I have to like ad-lib and improv this entire history of this tome that was like 1,000 pages long because my husband decided to be a little bit of a...
Now let's compare this with the library in Citadel Infrac. How did I GM the library of Citadel Infrac?
you had specific books that you had already planned.
I had 15 books pre-planned with authors, synopsises, and important quotes written out. So, I mean, it really does depend on
how you
as a
feel
GM
comfortable as
and
a
how
GM.
you feel comfortable as a GM. Because I planned out to that extent and specificness. Like, I built a whole town with every single building pretty much named.
How dare you go to work, Synth Knight? Oh my God.
Working, making money. How dare you? But that's the thing. Like, I have everything planned to a stupid level. And I know it's stupid, but I can't help it.
I know. Well, that's the two very different ways that you and I think. You're very logic driven. Weston's a coder, for those of you who don't know. So, like, that's the way your brain functions. Mine's just like, as a writer, I'm very creative, and I just kind of like, oh, well, this is a fun idea, so we're gonna go this way. Like, Anna being banished had been a possibility within like the overall scope of life in this story arc, but I didn't think it was going to happen then, and I hadn't really planned for it to happen then. But like, when the bad guy is there and one of her abilities is to banish someone, what does she want to do? She wants to banish the shield, essentially, for the person she's going after. So it made sense, and my character didn't roll well. So
he's like, I say that. See, it's Uber Geek Media. I say that, and then I will like 40 folders of documents for the current campaign and world. And then you don't use any of it. Like, what ends up happening a lot of times. It's like, modules are it's such an interesting thing for me because there's this huge amount of planning, and I'm like, how do you know your players are even going to go there?
Yeah.
Like, how do you know your players are even going to go that direction? They might decide. That's like, I was GMing for our family. We were very new to the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we
hold on just 1 second. Lumia7, I'm so sorry we are not set up for WoW gems. We should be, because we're part of the stream team, but we're not set up for those right now.
What are WoW gems?
They're a part. I will explain to you later.
Okay, you let me know.
Okay. We need to get set up with them, but we're not. Sorry.
I'm GMing, and we've got this story we're going through. We're doing Rise of the Rune Lords, which is one of the very first adventure paths from Paizo.
For first edition.
I had it in second edition, though. And suddenly we bring your mother in, and your mother's like, okay, I want to go search in the woods for a sage. Okay.
My mom didn't really get
she doesn't get
what she was doing.
She still doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, go. And I think your mother was a little surprised that it was just like, yeah,
okay. Go ahead.
So you show up in the woods, and here's this guy, and so like that. And so we go off on this whole tangent. As a GM, you do need to be willing just to make stuff up. And you got to be confident in your ability to make stuff up.
But is it, okay, so here's a good question. Is it the GM's responsibility, though, if it's not a part of the scope of what they have prepared, to just make crap up?
I would say yeah.
Yeah?
You kind of have to.
Okay. Example that I'm thinking of specifically. Go. Liam, in Critical Role, Liam O'Brien, I almost said Liam Hemsworth. Liam O'Brien was playing a character that had exacting knowledge or whatever. He had that feat where he always remembered everything. And then he was also a bookworm.
Yes.
So he would make Matt just make up books on the fly constantly through that campaign. So my what I'm thinking of is a time where Liam just kept doing that to him. He was just being a jerk. And Matt knew it. And he was just like, do you really want me to go through the entire history of Exandria at this point? Because that's essentially what you've just picked up. And Liam could tell. I think everybody could tell at that point. He was just like, Matt's just like, I'm done just giving you all of the books. No, we're not doing this anymore. I feel like there is a point where the ad lib needs to like be a little bit like, okay, we can talk about that later. Like, if you want to do a side quest where you read every single book in an entire library, we can totally do that, but not right now and not on the party's time.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So I do think it's okay to be like, no, we're not doing that. Okay, Papa says it's not made up, it becomes canon once it comes out of the DM's mouth, which is another thing. But does that mean then it's okay for a DM to retcon their own canon?
Yep. You are the storyteller. You're the writer. And
That's
so
true.
kind of what you say, that's the way it is.
Yeah, that's the way that it goes. I want to go back a little bit in the chat. Dragons Keep TV. I love what you said. I only plan a page of notes. Lazy Dragon Master is the Bible I swore my DM's oath on. Yes.
I have heard that book is amazing. I've wanted to get that one for you. I've heard that it's a great resource. It's called The Lazy DM.
I don't know how to take that.
Take it. Be offended.
I feel
Chat,
like I should
let's all
be
tell her
offended
that she should be offended.
right now that you wanted to get me a book labeled The Lazy DM. But I didn't realize that was an actual book.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Well, good.
Yeah, it's supposedly very good. It's one book that I've watched videos on YouTube that say, yeah, the Dungeon Master's Guide, you should read that, but you should go read this more.
Yeah. Well, and I've started, so when Weston and I first started GMing, I was not super interested in the mechanics of the game. I would just make some stuff up. I was just like, here we go. Okay, you're going to walk through this thing. Give me a fortitude save. Why? Because I feel like it. Like, that wasn't totally what was going on in that scenario, but I didn't know what else to put there. And I was like, okay, you do the fortitude save. But
that was walking through the barrier. Which fortitude would have been the right one.
Yeah, it was the right one. But now I've become much more interested in the mechanics of the game, and I've started to really dig into what the actual spells are.
Are you going to threaten me with a fonging?
I think she's about to channel
What?
Yes! I will fong you! Your insides will be your entrails will be your extrails.
That's how we roll in this house.
That is not how we roll in this house. It would be way too bloody to clean up.
Yeah.
And I hate cleaning, so no, that's not going to happen.
However, so the GM is responsible for knowing the system.
Oh my gosh, hold on. Grey Jedi said, I've always wanted that book too, but why would I get another book I won't read? Does it come in audiobook form? Oh my gosh, you and I are cut from the same cloth in that fact. I have too many things to read.
You read so
no,
many
but
books.
I have too many things to read that I'm like, why get another book that I'm not going to have time to read?
But you are...
Pain, lots of pain. Yes,
Here's one thing about GM responsibilities. GMs are responsible for whatever they have agreement with the players to do.
Yes.
Here's the reason I bring this up. Knowledge of the rules. How much of the rules does a GM need to have? Well, it depends. Are you GMing a little bit more experienced players who will know their own rules? Or are you GMing a bunch of fresh, never played before people who are going to expect to be able to rely on you for how to play this game?
Well, I agree with that. I think as a GM, if you're GMing newbies, you have to understand the rules really well.
Yeah.
But if you're GMing veterans, it's like they can kind of like...
They should be able to, help with that aspect.
Yeah, they should be able to do that themselves.
Well, it's like, I remember, it's interesting, I'm listening to, I went back in time and listened to Campaign 1 of Critical Role.
Going back in time.
And they had just switched from Pathfinder to 1E to D&D, 5E. And it's interesting how many times Matt has to ask, okay, what are the rules on that?
Yeah, he has to ask it a lot,
Yeah.
actually. He does flip open the Dungeon Master's Handbook often.
Which also tells you what he expects of his players. He expects his players to know their character.
Yeah, but there's certain people on that show that never figure out their characters,
Yeah,
no
that's
matter
true.
what.
But that should
I'm not
a
calling
responsibility you should be able to expect from your players is to know their character.
Well, and that's that's a good like segue-ish thing, is that you should, as a player, do not expect the GM to know how your character is supposed to work. Especially in the world of homebrewing stuff, which is like, it's a world Weston and I are starting to dive into a lot.
Yep.
Is that like, you need to understand your character. It shocks me the number of people who don't know like what their character can do. I'm not talking about like where we have these spells, like I'm not exactly sure what the spell does, like can I get a ruling because I read it this way versus whatever, but like full on like GMs having to like explain, no, this is what your character can do. Well, it's like in Pathfinder, not everybody has, especially in 2nd edition, not everybody has attack of opportunity.
Nope.
But in D&D, everybody has the attack of opportunity. Mm-hmm. So if you're playing Pathfinder, you should know if your character has attack of opportunity, or you have an incredibly magnanimous GM who waits and pauses and stares at you because they know that your character has attack of opportunity and you haven't done it yet. Not saying Weston does that, but
I used to. I don't have to as much anymore.
No, because like I finally learned my character all the way.
RX says, if you don't want to decide on something in depth or that is way later down the line, you can make this info just wrong. People are not perfectly omniscient. If someone asks you about an ancient dragon, the common nobody they want to ask wouldn't have correct info on that.
That is true.
And that is very true.
That is very, very true. Well, I know that there are some things, since Weston and I work in the same world when we're GMing, there are things where we've had to like share things with each other or correct each other on certain like world facts, just because you and I are so aware of what the world is because we're both GMing.
We're both building in it.
Yeah.
And that actually, it definitely makes it hard. That's like in this last episode, it looked like Hayley possibly was going to take us down a road or had a road available that was going to take her straight into my story for our next.
I know. I was going to accidentally run into his next arc.
Into my next arc. And I'm like sitting there like, oh, crap.
Yep.
What do I do about this?
Rules, blah, 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 blah. The game master and players only responsibilities are to have fun. Yeah, no, I would agree with that. At the end of the day, you should be having fun. And not only should the players be having fun, but the GM should be having fun too. Like it shouldn't be work for the GM and fun for everybody else.
And this, I think, brings me to what I think is the GM's most important responsibility.
Okay.
The GM's most important responsibility is to create a space that is safe where people can feel like they can just have fun.
Yes.
That no one's going to judge them for the character they made. Mm-hmm. No one's going to judge them for the way that they describe their spell or if they have to look up a spell or something like that. Like, this has to be a complete, we're just having fun space. You can't take this too seriously. If you take this too seriously, you'll lose 3/4 of what is fun in this. It's like, think about our last episode.
Oh my gosh.
I know that we didn't get nearly as far as we probably should have in that story.
That we could have, yeah.
But why? Because
oh my gosh, I was laughing so hard I couldn't breathe.
Yeah, our visitor, our people who had invited on were being so freaking funny in the role play. That's like, dude, just play it out. It's like I was in that Cyberpunk game last week. Mm-hmm. Our stream went an hour over. Mm-hmm. We almost didn't make it for him to put the donations in before midnight.
Oh, no, seriously.
Because we as a party were role playing and having a ton of fun.
Yeah. Hey, Starry Night.
Because we felt like we could. We felt like we could just have fun. And you know what? Who cares? Mm-hmm. And then just kind of let loose that way. And the best games are when you can just kind of just take all of the facades and just kind of let them go, step into this role of this other person and just play it to its max.
Mm-hmm. And you're creating a story together. I love the way that Weston described it. Was describing it to my mom the very first time she ever played. This is a collaborative storytelling game. We are telling a story together. Weston was not in charge as the GM. When I'm the GM, I'm not in charge, but we're all creating a story, and I might be guiding the ship, but we're all doing it together. And I really like that description of TTRPGs because there are too many places, especially with older, I hate saying this, but like older players, where it's like they just get really stuck in the way that they do things, and if you don't follow along with that, or if you question their decisions or rulings or whatever, it becomes like a problem. And I feel like that's not...
It becomes a power play.
It does. People act like being a GM means you're God.
It's like the stage manager issue. I'm sure you experienced this in theater. Like the stage manager who is on a power trip. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I am telling how everything happens. I don't like the way you moved your hand there. Do it differently.
Oh, you mean the stage director?
Yeah.
Yeah, stage manager is a little bit different.
Sorry.
But the stage director. Oh, yeah. I've worked with some stage director where it was literally like... And I did opera, so everything that we did is like on beats and stuff like that. And he would have listed out exactly what beat he wanted me to do XYZ. And I'm just like, seriously, like I have no creative freedom in this moment at all. And I think that's when you get the GMs that are very railroady, that are like, no, you've got to do it this way, and I'm going to make you do it this way.
Well, you were in a game early on where you had an extremely railroady GM. It was a Rise of the...
No, it was... Okay, so it was... I was asked to join something. It was an actual play, but it was like before Rise of the Rune Lords.
Yeah.
It was a pre-thing, but the GM 100% was railroady.
Well, and the problem with that was that there was a predefined ending. Mm-hmm. A GM is not a novel writer.
Yeah, hold on. I love what Grey Jedi just said. GM is a narrator like Morgan Freeman narrating the player's actions. I want Morgan Freeman to narrate my actions.
All day long?
Okay, not all day long. No.
Or you could have that guy from the trailers.
Epic trailer voice.
Yes.
In a world
where you pick up that plate and put it in the sink.
No, that would be so annoying.
Which never happens. So, instead...
Hey, it does too happen. Don't you dare.
So, but this is again the
Christopher Walken. Oh, that would be even worse.
Well, no.
Christopher Walken is a GM.
The most important thing is that... But here's the thing. But what is the GM not responsible for? The GM is not responsible for writing how things end.
Yes.
And a GM who writes how things end is not, in my opinion, not doing it right. Because then you leave no room for the role play. Like this whole thing is meant, the cool thing about that brought me into Dungeons and Dragons and got me interested in tabletop RPGs. I'd played a lot of video games. Mm-hmm. But then when I realized that in a tabletop game, I didn't have to follow the exact storyline the way the game wanted me to.
Yeah.
Regardless of how much quote unquote freedom there is in a video game, how open world it is, there's still a kind of rote path. You only get 3 dialogue options. You can only you can't use your sword to, I don't know, I'm going to cut a hole in the side of the cabin to get into the bad guys.
Yeah, it's true. But you can kill a rabbit and be told you're an indiscriminate killer.
That was in
that was
Guild Wars. Guild Wars 2.
Was it Guild Wars?
Guild Wars 2.
That was really funny. I was really excited about that.
But that's the thing, is it is the freedom of expression that I think is the real draw.
Oh, Starry Night. You're so sweet. You just said Weston or Hayley as your GM, though. Now that'll be awesome.
Oh.
Well, we are gonna. I have an idea for a show that I think would be super fun, where we could
We'll talk about it. I don't know what you're talking about.
All I've got to say is one-hit wonder one-shots.
Okay. I don't know where this is going.
Okay. You guys. Okay, tell me if this would be super fun. Weston and I trade off every other week, and we do a one-shot with up to 4 players. And whoever wants to join can join the game and sign up, and we can do it. But we do a one-shot, and it doesn't matter what the gaming system is.
How would you... Sounds like a lot of work.
No, but it was you would do week 1 and I would do week 2. So we would switch off. So it'd be on Wednesdays, and we would switch off who was GMing. And then we have up to 4 players, and we play for 3 or 4 hours. Tell us in the chat, would you guys like that? Would that be a fun thing to do? Would you want to do that? What is love, baby? Don't hurt me. I like
I'm gonna have to think about that.
Weston's gonna have to
Haley
think about
just
it.
dropped this on me right now.
I literally just dropped that on him. I'll even give you guys free copies of my games. Yes. So we would do like homebrewed games or like homebrewed worlds, and we can like try out. We could almost be like a play testing group too, if you wanted to try out your game, and then like it would be an actual play, but it'd be only one shot, so there's no like commitment from the players. It's just like, hey, do you want to come play a game Wednesday night? Just make sure you have internet hookup and let's play. And this can hone my GM skills.
It's true.
Oh, you like this idea? I can see it in your little brain.
I'm just thinking the amount of work on that, especially with
Do
the
you
way
see
I
that?
plan
Do you
my.
guys see that little
Especially with the
brain?
way I plan my campaign, even my one shots out. So
I know Weston is like, I need to percolate on this.
I need to percolate's the right.
Percolate is a really good word.
So okay, but I want to step back into.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got really excited. I had that idea. I was literally in the car and I was like, one shot wonders, or one hit wonders, one shot wonders. And like it all flood. It was like a download from God. Whoosh.
One shot wonders. Think about one night stands.
No, because I don't want it to be sexual. Everybody think we'll be doing VTM the whole time.
No, or we'll just all play bards. So, but going back,
okay.
So the GM is not responsible for writing the end, because that's if you do that, then you might as well you've lost all the freedom.
Yeah.
However, I do also want to bring up one other thing the GM is responsible for.
What? One of my friends watched your stream and created D&D gods based off of y'all, by the way. No way!
I want this.
What? Is it a stream? If it's a stream, I want to go watch it.
You can.
Or is it an at-home game?
We want to know so badly. Because you just made our little hearts flutter. Flutter, flutter, flutter.
I know that made my little heart just super happy.
But
sorry.
I do want to. One thing they are responsible for is GMing the type of game their players want to play.
Yeah.
Player communication and making sure that communication happens, I do think is somewhat the GM's responsibility. Mm-hmm. To go to their players and say, okay, what type of game is this? Because like you said, this is a collaborative story, unless you want to run a meat grinder.
Yeah, if you want to run a meat grinder, then just make sure meat grinders are actually really fun. I really enjoyed the meat grinder.
But this is where you need to ask all your players, hey, you okay with running a meat grinder? What type of game do you want to play?
But I almost feel like if you're running a meat... Stop it. I'm gonna throw something at you. Again, I have marbles over here.
Ouch.
I only have 2 of them. Dang it.
And she wonders why our children throw stuff at each other. Or throw eggs at each other.
Do you want to tell that story?
Maybe later.
Oh my gosh, we have an egg story we'll tell at the end of tonight. Now I lost what I was going to say. Shoot. Oh, meat grinders. If you're going to do a meat grinder, I feel like you need to have everyone like on the same board, on the same plate with that. But I feel like you should have them play NPCs and have it not be a part of the full campaign. Because I feel like
But that's not a campaign. You don't play a meat grinder for a campaign. You play a meat grinder for a meat grinder. They're one shots.
A meat grinder?
Meat grinder.
Yo, meat grinder. It's okay.
Belly.
So is that normal then? It's not normal to play like if you're gonna do a meat grinder, it is a one shot. It's not normally like
throw it in here. If you don't play a campaign of a meat grinder. That's just changing out characters every twice a game.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
How fast can you build characters faster than your GM can kill them?
Yeah, seriously. Well, that kind of, from what I understand, that's kind of what the Dark Souls one is.
Well, yeah, that's what you expect going into Dark Souls, though.
150 sessions for a meat grinder? How did you... What?
I wish we had you on. So,
How?
Starry Night, you're going to be a guest star.
You only died once?
And we're going to talk about how to run a meat grinder, because that's amazing.
That is incredible.
And the idea of keeping players engaged for that is amazing to me.
I think that would be incredible.
But that's the thing, is like, you need to know that what your players want to play.
Well, and your
like
players
you and
need to
me.
feel safe, because it's like watching. Okay, an example. And I'm sorry that I use Critical Role so much, you guys, but I have watched all of Campaign 1 twice, and so it's the frame of reference that I normally use. I have watched a lot of other actual plays, but the serious romantic moments in Campaign 1 at the beginning versus what was happening in Campaign 2, you can see the evolution of the table and what the table was trying to do, because at the beginning in Campaign 1 for Critical Role, they were all still just kind of friends. They had played not super regularly. They weren't in it like super, super committed, but suddenly they're really committed. And Liam O'Brien is like a super dramatic individual. So of course he's going to like have a super dramatic, I know he's like
Shakespearean guy.
Dude, he has this like sweet, lovey moment, and everyone's like acting so weird and like hiding behind their notebooks or behind the TV panel. Like they were acting so strange.
But then
then Matt's like he's like coaching Liam and Marisha like through this, like this is like, okay, like you can respond now, like guys all shut up, like that kind of a thing. At the beginning, they were not set up to have real serious moments like that in their game.
Yeah.
But you get to the part then when Sam exploded on everybody as the bard dude, Scanlan. Mm-hmm. They had evolved significantly at that point. They were ready to have really emotional, deep moments.
Well, and that's kind of like you had talked about how in Campaign 2, when they were going to go off on Ford's story, that Matt came to, why am I forgetting his name? Travis, and said, hey, are you okay with being the focal point of the story? Because Grog never really was, except for that one period of when they went back to his
they went
hometown.
to get the knuckles.
Other than that, he hadn't been really the focal point of many things. He was the comedic relief. And he went and asked him, are you okay with this? It's like, our coming campaign, Valitas, is a world built with mechanics to simulate the struggles of mental health. Depression, anxiety, OCD, all of those. I have mechanics built in to deal with those, to talk about those issues. And I'm very much going to be like any guest stars that are on there. It's like, okay, we're going to have a long talk before you come on about what issues and things I'm planning on going into. Because although we're going to have fun, we're going to laugh, the whole point of it is to show how hard it is for people and the struggle, and help build empathy in the world for the struggles of mental health.
And not just for those who struggle with it, but for their caretakers as well, because it can be just as hard.
Yep. And so in that campaign, my job as the GM, because I know I'm going to start off GMing it, is going to be really good transparency and dialogue with the players on, okay, what's safe and what's not. What are you okay doing and role playing, and what aren't you? So that way we keep the table safe. And that is the job of the GM, is to keep the space for the game. And that's probably their biggest job. Their biggest job is to keep the space, because you can make a story and the story can be completely lame.
Oh yeah.
But if everyone feels safe enough to be complete goofballs, it's totally fun.
Well, think about most of those types of like one shots or whatever. Like, it's, you have been invited to come and slay the ogre in the forest. And once you get into the forest, you learn there's a cult who worships the ogre and are going to fight you to prevent you from killing the ogre. Like, it's so stupid. Like, think about most one shots are freaking lame. Yeah. But they're super fun to play when you have a group of people that you're playing with that are super goofy, or they're playing it like super serious, like, we are going to defend the honor of the kingdom. Like that kind of thing. It can be incredibly fun.
Yes.
But it's what you're saying, like the GM needs to be the captain of the ship. Now, I think a responsibility of the players is definitely to play your character to the extent that you feel really comfortable.
Yeah.
and don't hold things back.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where a lot of players can be shy and nervous, and that's totally fine. Being shy and nervous and not feeling super comfortable going like way out there with your RP is totally fine. But be there and be present and be willing to try new things. Like if you have a player at the table that isn't super into RP or just is quieter, you ask them like specifically as a GM, like, what are you doing? And your responsibility as a player is not to be like, I'm sitting at a table. It's to like describe what you're doing. I'm sitting at the table watching this entire exchange and I have a drink in my hand and I'm kind of nervous watching this bar fight happen. So I'm just kind of holding on to my drink, waiting until somebody like comes up to me if I need to defend myself. Like, it's very different. So I feel like the responsibility of the player needs to be present and be all in if you're going to play this.
It's almost like going back to your ship analogy. It is the GM's job to be the captain of the ship. It's the player's job to row, to be the propulsion that moves the story along, to engage in the ship, and in the movement of it to help move things forward. Because the GM can't move things forward with players that won't play.
That won't do anything.
Yeah.
And I hate being the person that takes charge, but in almost every single one shot that I've done, almost, not all of them, but almost every single one, I have ended up becoming the leader of the group because I hate dead air. I hate dead air. And B, I want to do something. And so I'm like, okay, we're going to move along. And sometimes I'm super goofy. I recorded this last week, a podcast episode actually of a one shot. And I was super goofy and in just a super weird mood. And so the GM described a set of tracks where it looked like something was dragged. And then there was 3 sets of boot tracks next to it. And I said, okay, so we have someone dragging a bag of potatoes. And then it became this whole thing about the potatoes and where are they getting the potatoes and are these potatoes good potatoes or did they have the white springies out of them?
Well, that's like the one shot we did together. So I was a paladin who had no training in religion.
Like, you guys, how does that even freaking happen? It happens by having a completely randomly rolled character.
Yeah, they were completely randomly rolled, pre-generated characters. So I was not trained in religion and had an extremely low, I had a 6 for wisdom. So I had like a -1 or something like that on my my religion saves or rolls. And so we okay, there are these religious symbologies on the wall. Roll religion check to see if you know what they are. And I rolled the dice and I got like a 2.
Oh my!
Or was it nat
no,
1
I thought you got a nat 1.
It's like a nat 1 -1.
Yeah.
And so he's like, you have no idea what they are. So suddenly I said, there must be children here who are finger painting.
Oh my gosh.
And it became a thing throughout the whole one shot that we're looking for the children, that this is a cult of children that we're after. And where are the children? And you know, the ability and willingness to just go along with whatever. I mean, it really is the improv of yes and.
He was one of those Easter Sunday religious types. Easter and Christmas. I do like what Ubergeek and Starry Night were both saying about how like session zeros are really, really important, both for setting up parameters with the GM and setting up parameters for the players. Yeah. Because a lot of times, and I don't know if other people feel this way, but like as a GM, you kind of go into it with this feeling of like, this is a sacred space for you. Like you're in charge and you're in charge of the story. You're in charge of setting everything up. And it becomes this place where you have control over the world. And so you want to make sure that everybody's happy and everybody's safe and everybody's feeling comfortable. And so it does feel kind of like a lot of pressure. And if you don't have a session 0, then there's no way for you to really gauge like what everybody's feeling. But we haven't had a campaign yet where we needed to do a session 0. We did a couple of pre-game sessions for our current campaign just to get, honestly, me comfortable with my character.
Well, and I also think, especially if you have people who are new and you aren't sure about role play, being able to have them get into their character is so much easier when you are the main focus.
Yeah.
When it's your solo episode and you've got to carry it, then you have to role play then.
Yeah.
And role playing when it's just you and the GM is easier than role playing when you're with a bunch of characters, maybe other players, maybe they're more experienced players, maybe they're louder players. Like, they're players who play loud, boisterous characters and you're playing the rogue.
Yeah.
If you didn't have a chance to get into your role play, then you're going to have no chance when suddenly you've got the barbarian and the bard.
Oh my
and
gosh.
you're the rogue.
And you're just kind of sitting there like,
and you're
I'm
just
being sneaky.
Yeah.
Sneakily not saying anything. It's super fun.
Lost Tribes says something. I think you can read it easier than I can.
Yeah, sometimes what I will do to help newer players is write a snippet of background for them and then run it by them for approval. If they take it, then it gives us both a good starting point. Yeah, that's a really good idea. Actually, I like that idea a lot. The other one that I know of is in D&D Beyond?
What?
When I was creating characters where you roll a dice for each of the different sections. Yeah, it's in D&D Beyond. You roll a dice and it's like for your back, it like builds your backstory for you, but like you have a list of like 10 things, you roll a D10 and whatever you get, then it tells you, okay, this is what your, like this is the way you handle people with money, like wealth and the aristocracy and like your attitude towards them. And this is a trauma from your past. And like, I know it was part of it.
I know that's a system that's in Cyberpunk, that is in Witcher.
I think it's a really common one of like
those.
like if you don't know what you want your backstory to be, you just kind of like roll for it. And then it's like, hello, here's your backstory just for you.
Oh my gosh, look at Starry Night's comment.
I once ran a campaign where the players swapped characters every session because they were switching bodies every
That's interesting.
I actually, I was supposed to be a part of a game that with Check These Out when they were still up and running, where it was one of the characters was a changeling, and every session it would be a different person that was showing up as that character as a changeling.
Weird.
But I ended up not being able to do it because of my work schedule, which sucked. But I loved that idea, is that you have one character that you switch out who's playing them every session because like they're a changeling. I love that idea.
You know what'd be an interesting...
The DM even rotated? That's cool.
Now we're adding in some...
I love that.
You know, it would be an interesting... I don't know if there's a system out there, but one that would definitely be an interesting one for a campaign. And you could even like keep the campaign consistent but change players. Is if there was a Doctor Who TTRPG.
There is a Doctor Who TTRPG.
Because then you can literally say the Doctor changed, between each episode. And you could actually like...
you just change who's...
And you just change who's the Doctor.
Who's the Doctor every time.
Every time. And then you'd have different companions based on, okay, this one you start off with whoever the Doctor is, and then introduce then they meet the other players, and you could like do that all the time.
If you did that as 4 session arcs, then every Doctor would get like a death scene.
True.
As they're turning into the new Doctor. You guys were coming up with some really great show ideas. Somebody else take that one and run with it, because we are not going to have time to do that. There are 2 Doctor Who TTRPG. Yeah, I'm surprised that you didn't. We've covered that in TTRPG news.
We have?
Yeah, we have. I'm surprised you forgot.
We've covered a lot of stuff.
We've covered a lot of
news
stuff
over time.
We have.
So, but I'm gonna bring us back.
And we're back. Hi, John. Welcome back, my darling.
Yay.
I don't even like Doctor Who, and I knew it.
I liked Doctor Who back in the day.
We loved the David Tennant and Matt Smith Doctor Who's. After that, I kind of Matt Smith's Doctor Who is my favorite.
Yeah.
His storyline with River Song, like,
Nothing beats the Last Centurion.
Last Centurion, yes.
Nothing beats the Last Centurion. coolest story.
Do you know when the next TTRPG news is? It will be next Monday. We normally do it about 15 minutes after the show has started, so it'll be 8:15 Mountain Daylight Time. We do it every week. So every week we do TTRPG news, and we have just started the community announcements. So if you have anything you would like to announce, a new show, a new game, a new homebrew, something that you're releasing, or a Kickstarter that you are working on getting funded, just let us know, and we will include it in community announcements during TTRPG news.
Yep. Dang it, I was going to say something, and it was very
No, the old school Doctor Who is pretty cool. I emailed you 3 announcements. Okay, that's cool. For next week. Yes, I'm awesome. I'm scared to get into Doctor Who as I don't know where to start. Start with David Tennant. Actually, you know what? Even the first one's pretty good.
That's not the first one. That's
Still
still
that's
like eighth Doctor.
The reincarnate or the whatever.
I would say start with David Tennant though.
David Tennant's was so
Problem
good.
is,
but then they won't get Bad Wolf.
They won't. Okay. You gotta start. What was his name? I'm gonna have to Google that real quick.
Charles.
No, I don't think so.
Christopher Columbus James O'Neill. I don't know. I don't remember his name. I like running games where the players don't even know about their PC. So as the story plays out, I start revealing facets and powers they can stumble on. Ooh, Chris Eccleston? That sounds right.
Yes.
Yes. So that's the first one of the reboot of the show.
Yeah. He was good.
He was good.
I didn't love him.
But he only stayed on for 1 season, and then David Tennant took over, and David Tennant really,
But all those storylines intertwine and
they're all so good.
Beautiful.
And you have to understand that it's goofy as all heck. It is so goofy. And like there are these moments though, especially with David Tennant and Matt Smith, who are both very well trained actors, like Shakespearean level, whatever, that are just like heartbreaking, and you're like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh! You're Anonyminium on Twitter. Yep, okay. I like it.
Yeah, Christopher Eccleston was the 9th Doctor.
The 9th. So 9th, 10th, and 11th, yeah.
Yep.
Start with Chris Eccleston. I love how we have devolved. This is why this is TTRPG, or not TTR, Tabletop Terrain Talks, where we talk about tabletop gaming, terrain, and other nerdy things, because this is the other nerdy things section.
But I do want to bring us back again to the topic at hand.
Wait, a show like Doctor Who in the Atla universe. What's Atla?
I have heard this, and my brain is like pinging at me, and it says, you know this, but...
Yes, Synth Knight. Chris Eccleston is the one that's really intense, and he has a buzz cut, and his hair's really, really, really short. It's the...
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh!
So the Doctor went to the Avatar for help.
No, well, would you do it where it's like Doctor Who, where like there's a character that's reborn? It's like
you could do that.
Thing.
You could do the reborn thing, like you're the Avatar.
And then the Avatar gets reborn.
Of them. That's also an interesting one.
I actually saw an Avatar.
I'm planning with our new campaign world of Valitas to do the first campaign is actually only like 1,000 or 2,000 years after mankind has kind of started societies. Like we're early on.
We are. We're super
early. Like
you've placed us like.
I'll give you a couple of bits of tidbits of information. There's no wizards because mankind has not yet learned how to, through knowledge, harness magic. There's only innate-born magic at this time, and my plan is to then put different campaigns and different seasons we have farther in the future. So we watch the progression.
Really?
We watch the progression of humankind.
Do our characters stay the same?
No. But that's what I mean. Like first campaign is those two characters, and then we jump 3,000 years, and then we have new characters in the new time.
So over the course of all of the campaigns, you see the full evolution from rocks and sticks and little teepee huts to full-blown technology.
Yep. I don't know if we'll start with rocks and sticks. I still want to...
I have made fire!
Yeah, there we go. But definitely, like, it's going to be, thousands of years of progression. Because I feel like every single fantasy book out there starts where there's already ancient ruins.
Mm-hmm.
Where about before there were the ancient ruins? Before
what
they built
about
the ancient,
when the ruins were not ancient but
exactly.
they were new?
Exactly. So that is what I plan
I like that.
on that front.
That's cool. Yes, the Avatar: The Last Airbender one, the newest one that came out, I've heard is really good, but I might be wrong.
Ooh, Starry Night's cool. He's writing a book in a fantasy world after magic has died out.
I know.
That's cool.
You sent me your book, and I still need to read it. I'm sorry. I will. It's on my long list of things to read.
But we've gotten
very, very off track.
We got the job of the GM is to bring things back. Things are going to get off track. Things are going to get crazy.
It's true.
But figuring out how you tie them back in is really good. That's like one thing I loved. There is this idea of like, okay,
good night, Uber Geek.
You don't want to railroad your players. It's like, okay. But they don't know unless you lay everything out in too much detail at the beginning. So like not planning and not having everything laid out and in front of the players at the beginning, it will help you out a lot. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't tell them where the big bad's castle is, then guess what? If they decide to go the other direction, suddenly they walk up to this castle that happens to be in the middle of the forest. You can move stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have to be tied down.
I'm not going to say that that's happened.
Yeah, it's happened.
But it's totally happened.
That's like...
I move things around often.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you can. The job of the GM is not to have every detail planned out from the beginning. And I highly recommend against that.
Well, okay, so I think there's an interesting thing where there are a lot of GMs that start out in the same place that I was, where I felt like I needed to know everything, like absolutely everything. And I think the farther along you get in your journey as a GM and like just learning how to do different things, you begin to realize that you don't have to have everything planned out. And that's why now, like when we first started, I had a lot more things planned out and written down, and I had a whole GM journal, and like I like would go over what happened in the previous episode. And now I'm like, okay, so we did this last session. Cool. I need to go look up these 3 spells because I think that's probably going to come into play, and let's go.
See, whereas for me, I'm the type that does plan. I do a ton of world planning at the beginning, because then afterwards, I don't have to plan.
I know, you don't have to plan anything at all.
I don't have to plan anything at all because everything's right there, and it's just a matter of, okay, you went this way. All right. Then there's these things here. This is happening in this part. Bam. Write my little, what's happening in the next 1 to 2 episodes, and it becomes really easy for me that way because I do have so much planning in front. Yeah. And so that's all up to the GM and how they want to do it. You don't have to. Just pick your style, pick what you like to do, what makes you feel comfortable, and makes you feel confident going into the session.
And as a player, your prep is as important, I feel like, as the GM's prep, because you can't just step into your session and be like, hey, I have these spells. Give me 10 minutes while I go read through them all to see which thing I want to do on my turn that's supposed to be 6 seconds long. Like, you need to actually read through your stuff and know what you're talking about and know what spells, what things you want to do, so that it's not like the entire game stops because you want to do something, but you don't know what you want to do.
Well, and I would say one thing that this is not necessarily the job of the GM, but I think it's a good thing for GMs to do. Push them to be more creative.
Yes. Push
your players. I think one of the ones that pushed me the most was definitely Kyle in our Play Nerd Allies game.
Oh, yeah, when we played the Wheel of Time campaign.
Like, he pushed me to be more creative, come up with cooler stuff.
He was kind of like, nope, that's not good enough. Come up with something else.
Yeah, he was.
He essentially was
He
just
straight
like,
up
nope.
said that. And that was, pushing people to be more creative and just makes everything so much more fun. Did you see the comment by John, by the way?
Which one? Flourish, Sly Flourishes Lazy GM books are great. And yeah, I agree. That as a GM, you need to have some stuff, but you can really lean on the players to give you a path. Yeah, they really can. Well, and it's interesting too, because you and I, because we switch off GMing, we have specific story arcs that we're like playing through. And so we do have like an ending place that we want to get to, but how we get there and when we get there is a very up in the air type thing. Like, we're going on a full-on side quest to go save Anna that I had not really planned on.
But it worked out.
And to be totally honest, like, it's working out better than kind of what I had planned.
Which a lot of times that happens.
I'm like, okay, cool. This is where we're going. I like this. This is kind of cool.
It is.
So we'll see. We may not ever even get back to what the original story arc was supposed to be. Because like, this is just cooler.
Yes. But that's one other thing. As a GM, don't make it your responsibility to come up with
everything.
Well, not everything, and not even where cool things to happen to the players. Ask them. Mm-hmm. Like, what would you like to have happen with your character? Yeah. What are some character building moments you think would be really awesome to work into the story? And have them feed you with good ideas. I know Matt Mercer does this all the time.
Yeah, he does that with
and
all
most good
GMs
GMs are like, hey, where do you want this character to go?
So Weston, where do you want your character to go?
Where do I want Az to go?
Mm-hmm.
Az is very much about opening up to people. Is his big growth, I think, throughout this.
Yeah. Trust. I think trust is the biggest one that I see.
Well, and it's more about fighting for something other than the mission. Because that's for him was always what it's about, just is the mission. So I do have some things planned that will happen right after I take over again that are going to shake things up quite a bit with that. I know.
Like what?
I can't tell you that.
Ah! That's just not fair. Well, the fact that like you are Weston, where do you want Weston to go? Oh, that's a good question. Are we getting deep and philosophical?
In about 40 minutes, I want to go in bed.
He wants to go to bed. So Starry Night does ask, by the way, how are you two today? We're good. We're really good. Wait, is it time? To... Okay, Weston, it's time. You need to tell the egg story.
Okay.
We are going to pause in the conversation because we promised that we would tell you the egg story.
So
Weston's character secretly wants his own fighting game.
It's Fight Club. We don't talk about it.
We don't talk about Fight Club.
So on this last Saturday morning, we're laying in bed asleep.
You guys are going to want to remember the story, so pay attention.
After a late night playing in our campaign, it's always hard to come down after a good game, so you're always a little late getting to sleep.
So this was a Saturday morning.
I'm woken up at 5:30 by the dogs because they need to be let out. Then 6:30 because the children are fighting. But then I get a little bit more sleep until 8 o'clock when our youngest walks into our bedroom.
Our youngest is 4.
And says, Mommy, Daddy, they've got the egg. They're throwing the eggs, and he's got the eggs. He's a little tattletale, by the way.
Oh, hardcore. Like, it's a problem, tattletale.
They're doing that with the eggs. We're like, they're what? Yeah.
They're throwing the eggs.
Who has the eggs? Yeah, he has one and on his door and on the couch. And I'm like, wait, what?
And we're both still like half asleep trying to figure out what's going on.
So I get out of...
No, I got out of bed.
You got out of bed. So you guys...
I get out of bed and I go into the kitchen. Now, our bedroom is right off of the kitchen dining area in our house. So I walk through the door, our doorway, almost directly into the kitchen. And there are the eggs pulled out on the counter. and there is raw egg goop down the oven and in a puddle on the floor in the kitchen. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I get super angry. I scream at the little boys and I'm like, get in your rooms now. And so they all scamper off into their bedrooms. And I'm like walking around and I find egg pieces. They literally were throwing raw eggs at each other because our middle child thought it was a good idea, because what's cooler than a bubble gun? Throwing eggs at each other.
Well, he saw his bubble gun. He's doing his bubble gun. He sees the bubbles. He's like, what if these bubbles were eggs? What would that do then?
Seriously. So I find egg goop on the carpet in the front family/living room. And we have 2 dogs. And so I'm calling the dogs over to come lick up the pieces.
They were happy.
They were very happy. And then we discovered that there was egg on the couch. And there were eggs, raw egg goop, in the bedroom of the 2 little boys, and raw egg goop all down the door of the older child's room.
So I asked him, and I'm like, how did this egg goop get all over the door? Did you throw the egg at him? No, Gabriel took the egg goop on his hands and just smeared it on the door.
So that was our Saturday morning, was cleaning up. And then we find a backpack. One of the boys' backpacks, because I'm looking at the eggs and I'm like, oh, you guys really did crack a ton of the eggs. And we're a type of family that we buy like the 5 dozen eggs, like the big, huge packages of them. And
a lot of eggs.
I'm like, what the frick? You guys really... We find a backpack that has like 2 dozen eggs in it. 2 dozen eggs. Like...
So I get the story out of him, and here's the lay down as it sounds like. The middle child decided, hey, I want eggs, so I'm going to put them in my backpack. So they start shoving all the eggs in his backpack. And then the older one's like, hey, why are you putting eggs in your backpack? You shouldn't put eggs in that backpack. So then the middle child throws an egg at him. Now, the oldest child, in his maturity, should go into the parents and be like, hey, he's got all the eggs.
So-and-so threw an egg at me.
No. Instead, he goes and grabs an egg of his own and chucks it. And so then they start chucking the eggs at each other.
So
as
that
we're
was...
laying in bed.
So when we calmed down enough to not be so fiery angry that they were going to have bottoms they couldn't sit on, we allowed them out of their room, and then they had to do chores for the rest of the day. And they didn't get breakfast because the eggs we were going to make breakfast with had been smashed.
Yeah, we worked in the yard. I
was
tired.
so angry, you guys. Like, I can't even. There are few times in my life I have been that angry. It was. So the boys are going up for adoption now. The problem is they do crap like that and they bring them back. They'd be like, we don't want your children.
We have 3 very rambunctious boys.
The biggest issue is that they're all bloody freaking cute. So like the littlest, I'm gonna be super, super angry, and then he just looks at me and gives me this little smile, and I'm like, for the love of all that is holy, you better turn around, because I'm about to give in. Stop it.
So that's the egg story. And I'm sure this will make a wonderful clip for YouTube.
I know this week. Well, no, this was not 1 minute long. This will be like an actual like 3.5 minute clip on her YouTube channel. Wait till they're teenagers. No, they better not be doing crap like this when they're teenagers, or I really will send them to military school. I'm not joking. They will. Nope. Anyway, that's our wonderful children, and that is our children's story. So at the end of the day, being a GM is much like being a parent. You take what the players/children give you, and you try to make something constructive out of it.
I think that's a good analogy.
I think so too.
And
you're zoning out.
Sometimes, I'm thinking deeply. But the nice thing is that players, unlike children, you can get rid of. You can go find a different one.
That is so true.
No, one thing that is not your job as a GM is to deal with a hostile player. Not your job. Kick them out. Find a different player.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, Nate. Seriously. Those cameras, they'll get you every time.
Jeez,
Oh my gosh. We TP'd. I've been TPing once. Back when kids like still did that. And It was still considered fairly harmless. Now it's like, we will sue you, your dog, your cat, and like your 5 grandparents that came before you kind of thing. There's this girl in our like area that was just, oh my gosh, she was so nasty. She was a horrible, horrible girl. And nobody liked their family in my group of friends. And so we decided to go TPing. And we TP'd them, and it was like we brought like a whole like Costco size thing of toilet paper, and it was bad. Well, now I feel bad about it because as an adult, I know how much trouble that was to clean up. But oh my gosh, their children were so horrible.
See, my one TPing story is I was at a birthday party sleepover. I was like 10. So that was one of the few times I went on a sleepover like that, and we were stupid. So the older brother had some friends over too. They went out TPing, and they were smart enough to go like farther away. We went across the street and TP'd the house directly across the street.
Oh my gosh, you guys are brain damaged.
Now here's the funny part. Here's the funny part. So we all get back in. No one knows. Then the older brother starts coming back from their TPing.
Did they get blamed
and
for it?
And they got blamed for it. They got blamed for it because they were out. Like, hey, what do you guys got? Should they still have like a roll in their hands from the TPing they did?
Yeah. No, since I now actually genuinely feel bad about it. Like, that's the one and only time. And I did feel really guilty about it at the time. Let me just say it this way. This girl, she was so mean to me that I had to leave the private school that I was a part of because of the bullying situation. Like, she was really, but I do now feel bad because it was like we punished the parents.
Yeah, not her.
Not her. Like, that wasn't like
the worst.
I do genuinely feel bad about it now, but it's like those things that you chalk up to like, well, I was I was like 12 at the time.
See, the worst one I've heard of is actually my older sister's ex-husband. He had a friend who worked at a confetti factory. They filled the back of his friend's truck with confetti.
Wait, his friend's truck?
So
this is like a practical joke?
Filled the bed completely. No. Took it to the person's house, backed it up onto the lawn, and dumped the whole thing of confetti on the lawn and then spread it.
That's horrible. That's horrible. That's like to the level of like...
He was a mean guy.
That's like the level of... Nowadays, you couldn't get away with doing that because everybody's got like Ring cameras and stuff like that. Like you would get caught.
Which is probably a good thing that way.
It is a good thing. I haven't seen like a TP lawn. I mean, like we grew up in the 90s. Oh, the 90s when you could run around outside for 7 hours on a Saturday and nobody would freak out because you were an 8-year-old by yourself.
And on that nostalgic note,
now I'd sue about that.
Yeah,
that's pretty bad when you're a kid. Cynthia, I don't know who you're talking about. Are you talking to me and Weston, or are you talking to Starry Night? Because I feel like I need to my car got egged once, and I didn't realize it until like way after it happened.
Yeah.
Like, which is like one of the most stupidest things.
Which means instead we should let out our teenage angst
in TTRPGs and just slash things with
things with hammers.
Yeah, I was a nerd. We just gamed. I was a nerd too, but like I didn't like, I don't know, like that was, like I said, that was the only time I ever went TPing. I feel like I shouldn't have told the story.
You can feel how guilty.
I feel really guilty about it still, you guys. Like, I feel like I should like write a letter and apologize and be like, that one time in like 1990. Hold on,
they probably don't remember.
1999. No, it was before that.
Because let's be honest, generally
1997.
When young kids TP, they do a pretty lame job of it.
Yeah, but it wasn't just us. It was like...
this person was mean enough that they had a lot of people involved?
there was the reason that we were even there was because the high schoolers were doing it.
Oh.
Yeah, like Trevor. like my older brother Trevor's age kids were doing
Yeah,
it.
they can TP in it.
And we were just kind of going along with it.
I think it's funny how that this exists online for posterity. Our kids, it's now, will never go away.
Now, you know what? We're so open about stuff though, like with our kids, that like there's nothing that they're gonna discover as adults that they'll be like, oh my gosh, mom and dad.
Well, neither you nor I was that rebellious, so we don't.
I don't know. I had a secret boyfriend who was 4 years older than me. Ooh. That dad hated, and my dad actually punched him.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I didn't have the rebellious phase.
What year did y'all graduate high school? I graduated 2005.
03.
We're not that young. Now I really feel glad I live in an apartment and TPing is a thing here.
True that.
Well, it's actually if you get caught TPing, it is actually a misdemeanor.
Is it now?
I think it is.
Yeah.
It's like criminal mischief. It's like it's bad.
Oh, my mischief is criminal. Ooh.
Yeah. Nope. The worst you would have done would have to deal with our loan shark splashing paint on your doorway and corridor. Ew. That's not.
And on that pleasant
y'all
note,
are still kids. Wait, John, hold on. Weston keeps trying to close out the show, and I'm wanting to talk about stuff still. Wait, how old are you, John? Yes, we're like in Washington State. It isn't a misdemeanor. Oh, no, in Utah, it's like a thing. It's like a really big deal here in Utah. Like you cannot do that here in Utah.
He graduated in 99, so he's 4 years older than me.
No, he graduated.
I know, and I graduated in 03.
And I graduated in 05. So
4 years older.
Hold on. You were only 23 when I graduated from high school. Like, I was dating guys that old when I was 18.
Yeah, you were.
I was.
I remember, yeah. Yeah, because a couple guys there I remember who were older than me when we were dating.
I know. When Weston and I were dating, I was like the hot new commodity on the market in our group of friends. So
Story night, I graduated the year they were born.
Oh, you're so little. Psst, in Utah, homebrewing beer is a misdemeanor.
That
I don't have any idea because we don't drink alcohol, but
it might be,
That's true. Well, they did just lift the alcohol limit thing now, so Utah doesn't have its own beer mix anymore. The day that they did that, the official, like when the new law went into place that allowed like all beers to be the same as the national average, Budweiser actually did a parade in downtown Salt Lake City.
They brought the Clydesdales
with the Clydesdales, and they had like a huge like big party thing downtown. It was pretty funny actually.
In Washington State, minors carrying Sharpies is a misdemeanor.
Seriously? Making fun of Bigfoot is a misdemeanor as well?
Well, yeah.
No way. No way.
Don't make fun of strength of a river's in the shoulders.
Such pretty horses. Oh, they are gorgeous. The Clydesdales. They were here for the Olympics in 2002. And I remember we went and did a tour of the Clydesdale. They brought their whole stables and they were set up in the Gallivan Center.
Ooh.
And they had the Gallivan Center is like this main central location in downtown Salt Lake. And they had filled the entire place with the Clydesdales and the stables. And like, it was amazing. And they were so big. And I was in 2002, I was 15 years old. And I was so shocked with how big they are because at 15 I was already like 5'10", and they were like 5 or 6 handspans taller than I was.
Big horses.
They are massive. I have some close-up pictures of them from spring training here in Gmming Styles. They're war horses for sure. In third grade, a third grader getting a $500 fine for saying Bigfoot isn't real.
Starry Night said they
got How?
That they got fined for saying it wasn't real.
Well, Bigfoot isn't real.
What are you talking about?
Because they're called Sasquatch. Sasquatch is totally real. We should do a night where we talk about
his name is Strength of a River in his
theories.
shoulders.
It is Strength of a River in his shoulders, and he's very, very good friends with Harry Dresden.
Yes.
If you know what we're talking about, you're really cool. Okay, it is officially 9:35, so I think we're going to end it here. You guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was so much fun to talk and chill and just get to like be nerds together. It's super fun. If you have anything for the community announcements, please send them to us. You can either email us at partyof2rpg@gmail.com, or you can shoot us a whisper here on Twitch, or you can find us on Twitter at partyof2rpg live. Oh my gosh. And we can like just get connected with us somehow. I am on Twitter at HayleyM_Bell. Weston is on Twitter too, but I don't remember what his handle is. He doesn't remember what his handle is. He doesn't get on Twitter.
So please follow, and then if you can, subscribe. If you want to support the channel, you can. If you've got an Amazon Prime membership, you can actually subscribe for free. So
oh yeah, that's true. I always forget about that part.
Please, if you can, subscribe.
And please all join us on Friday night because we are going to have another really fun session. Abby and David from Tomes of the Chaos Bard are joining us again. David is unbelievably hysterical as the funny guy, and Abby is wonderful as the straight man. Like it is, they are so much fun to play with. So come hang out with us on Friday night, 8:00 Mountain Daylight Time. And remember, it only takes two. Good night, you guys. Mwah.